Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. And I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine. And today we are welcomed by Mr. Diamond Dallas Page. How we doing, man?
Dude, I'm really doing good, Justin. No, we just here at the DDPYoga Performance Center, we don't really do workouts here anymore. We do a lot of filming here, but we do an elderly group, and everybody's like 65 and to 91 years old, and it's to help them just keep in that groove because they don't know how to use the app that well, when you're that at that age. But we've taught them all how to use it so when they're not here. So that's the only time we really do the workouts, and we don't even charge for that. We just bring them on, let them come in and do it because they're so passionate and they've done so well with our program. But we're just coming off a transformation university graduation. So this place there's 100 people in here, for 3 days of, just unbelievable stories and people finding hope and, sharing it with others. So there's no better advertising than people talking about you, friends and family.
Definitely. Before we dive into all the inspirational things that you've been able to do and be a part of, you want to just go ahead and let people know where they can check out DDP Yoga, Power Cups, all that fun stuff that you got for us?
Yeah, pretty much everything's at ddpyoga.com, and you got 7 days free to try this stuff, so it doesn't cost you anything. You can try it, and you can bail after that if you want. The one thing I really hope people, when they do come to DDP Yoga, the very first thing you on the app, it's called the list, and the list is the reason why we have so many transformations. Like there's a lot of workouts out there, God, and everybody and their mother is a trainer at this point. But I just took something that helped me heal my back, and it ended up healing so much more than that for me. And I knew I was going to have to do it for the rest of my life. So I wanted to make sure that uh, anything I talk about or anything that I work on, I don't tell people about it until it works for me. And the program did. And we have a ridiculous amount of transformations that are successful because of the list. And the list I originally came up with because people would be writing. They saw that first Arthur Borman video, that disabled veteran video, go out into the stratosphere back when a million hits was ridiculous. Now you got to have 100 million, to have that kind of exposure. But at that time, no one even knew what viral was in 2011, 2012, I think it was. I remember my business partner, Steve Yu, uh, because it's been 8 years before it clicked. And it took, it's like that 10,000 hour thing. It takes a long time for something that you believe in. And a lot of people don't believe in themselves. And that's one thing I do because I've proved it over and over again that I can do something. And I surround myself with really great people. That's another thing as well. But when Arthur Borman's video, my business partner Steve Yu had just released that, and we didn't even know what Reddit was at the time. And he called me up and he goes, "Hey, have you ever heard of Reddit?" And I said, "No." I said, "Well, it's like the gold standard of like, people online and sharing
Yeah.
stories." And he goes, "That video of Arthur, it's number 99 on the list." And I'm like, "Well, so what does that mean?" He goes, "Well, people are starting to share it." I go, "Oh, that's awesome." The next morning, I was getting on a flight for Nashville, and Steve sent me a text that he was a snapshot from Twitter, and it said, "Stop what you're doing right now and watch Real Magic, David Copperfield." And I was like, "Oh my God." And then it started to take off. And when I landed in Nashville, Steven sent me another text that was snapshot, and it said, "One of the looking to be inspired, it takes a while, but well worth the wait. check this out, Tony Robbins. And then it just went crazy. And um, a lot of people wrote to me and they would list all the problems that they had. And then they would write shit like, but you're not gonna, you don't care about me, and you're just interested in money and blah, blah, blah. I was like, damn. So I created a list. The things that Arthur did that he picked up just because he bought my DVDs and it had a list of things to do.
Yeah.
Arthur did them all. And so I put that list together and I couldn't even read them anymore. And it wasn't like it was a shitload, but there was enough because there was so many comments that I literally said to my buddy who was handling this, I said, if anyone writes like something like this, send him that, which is the list. And if they do everything on the list, you will email them back and then you'll talk to them. And here's the 7 questions that you ask them to see if they really did the list or not. And 3% of the people, I'll never forget, it was like 3% of the people that wrote in. If 100 people wrote in, 3 of them actually like
Did the
did
list.
something, did the
Yeah.
list. And they were successful. So, you know, I didn't have to, and that was, I sent them the DVDs and everything for free. It wasn't
Okay.
like you had to pay for it. I would send it to you because now I've got a story too. Like you didn't believe. Here you go. It's yours. Take it and let's see what you do with it. But you don't get that from me. Like I don't work with anyone except for the boys, guys who I came up with or young kids who are coming and, from, Seamus is going to be coming down to see me. I know Braun Breaker just, the hernia at some point. I'm sure he will be coming to see me. I've
Yeah.
known Braun. I was working with Braun, and I always call him Bronson because I think Bronson's such a great name, and he is a Steiner, and he is a freakazoid. And I was saying that about him when he was in NXT, and people didn't know, they didn't get, but I knew, because this kid got heart and drive. Like at some point, he could be the face of the company. I mean, he
Absolutely.
has that kind of charisma, work ethic, and believability. Like you get it all with Bronson. But if you look at some of the workouts, there'll be days where Braun Breaker will be working out with Darby Allin and other people. There'll be times where you'll see Bronson and Darby. There's one workout on there. I gotta find out which one it is, but it has Bronson, Darby. It has. Do you know who Paul Walter Hauser is?
Yep. I love him to death.
Okay, and you gotta love him as a wrestler. I gotta call him a wrestler
Yes.
now because he came and trained with me. He stayed with me for 10 weeks,
Okay.
getting ready for Blackbird to film Blackbird.
Yeah.
And he wanted to lose 40 pounds. At the very same time, Teddy Swims is doing the same thing. So in that particular workout was Teddy, Walter, and I always called him Walter because I always thought Paul was a bit of a pussy, but Walter, like that ego side of him, that that son of a bitch is a champion. Like
Okay.
he makes shit happen. And if you know anything about Paul Walter Hauser's story as an actor, I mean, I think he is maybe the best actor of his generation who not only loves wrestling, loves being a wrestler. And he's been helping me with a project over this last 6 months. It's really amazing, which I'll share with everybody at a later date. But you can find those 4 guys in the room at any point in time. And over that couple of, maybe 2-year period, it's pretty awesome, that to have guys get come through like that.
Absolutely. Now, something I found really cool about you is like when I first started on the podcast a little over a year ago, I actually had Bobby Fish on. And in that conversation, we
Mhm.
talked a lot about DDP yoga, how it helped him with his knee problems. And something I found really interesting that he brought up was that you make DDP yoga accessible to all wrestlers. Any
All of them.
walks just to help them. Where did that idea come from? And where did the inspiration just to help people and try to help change lives for the better come from?
You know, I'm, I know I am one of the most giving guys in our business. Like back when I could have an influence on who got an opportunity, Billy Kidman, um, Ray Lloyd, aka Glacier, um, Canyon, Disco, Ray. I mean, I could just name off 30 guys that I helped get jobs and live dreams in WCW. Because Eric Bischoff and I, even though we met in a pull apart fight with each other in the AWA, we were just literally, Eric was in town doing a whole thing around Atlanta and the power plant and all the guys that came in to do stuff like Buddy Lee Parker, who was the main guy at the power plant as far as teaching. JBL was down there with them. Uh, Me and Eric hopped in my car and drove around the old neighborhood because we lived right on the opposite side of the hill. And I hadn't been back there in 30 years. And it'll be part of his podcast of us, just going on that drive and what memories we had. And like uh, a great one that Canyon really helped a lot of people get to me, which got them an opportunity. And it was at a point, and Eric and I were talking about this when I was driving in front of his old house, it's literally a house away from me, like up and over the hill on other side of the street. And Canyon was always, the next guy that this guy should be able. Can you help him? And it was this kid named Kidman, Billy Kidman, and I was like, "Oh, I'll do it, but give me a month or so." I can't go. I've gone to Eric too much. I don't want to like burn it out. And he goes, "Just watch this finish," and it was a shooting star finish, right? So Canyon pops. He's got it queued up perfectly. He hits play, and Billy climbs up the ladder. Ding, ding, boom. I went, wow. Now, no one had ever seen anything like that
Yeah,
before. If they did, it would have been in Japan or something, maybe Mexico, but it wasn't in the States.
absolutely.
So I reversed the tape, walked up the hill, down the hill, and into his house, sat down, waited till it got to a commercial because I hate when people interrupt me when I'm watching something on TV. Like I'm focusing on the storyline, whatever. And he's the same way. He's like, be polite, wait till he hits commercial. And it did. And he goes, "What's up?" I said, "Want to see one of the greatest finishes you've ever seen?" He goes, "Absolutely." I plugged it in, I hit play. He watched it. He went, "Wow, that's pretty awesome." He's like, "What's he doing?" I go, "Looking for a job." He said, "Tell him to be at the power plant on Monday. We'll start him at 400 a week." And that's how it went. So it didn't matter if it was Chris Canyon helping him get the mortise spot or helping Raven as if you watch his documentary, he talks about it. But I did help him quite a bit with the development of the character. It was all Ray, like it's all his deal. But the initial part came from us being so tight and really I knew Scotty was a main event guy, and he did get in some main events, but he should have been main event across the board. He should be
Yes.
WWE Hall of Fame. I mean, he is like he was, yeah, as much great as ECW was. No one was a bigger fabric of the company than Raven. Of course, RVD, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, the Dudleys. I mean, there's so much great, unbelievable talent that came out of there. But Rave would have been like the center point with him and Tommy Dreamer and Sandman, of course, and RVD and Sabu. And like, I mean, that shit was off the charts. And I think that just for that, Raven, should be in the Hall of Fame. And I was glad to see him put out a documentary so people could really get to see, just how dedicated he was to all of that. So whether it's helping any of those guys, I mean, when Sandman left, he called me and thanked me. There's no more WCW, but he thanked me for helping him. A couple of the boys did, but Sandman sticks out directly. Steven Regal was another one, but just helping them get in, and then it's on them. If they had a great idea, I'd get somebody to listen to it. But it's just, when I was 22. How old are you?
25.
When I was 22, I don't know how, because I'm not a big Bible thumper guy, but I really love listening to different preachers, because if you listen to Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll is a preacher.
Yes. He'll inspire
Just
you.
Dusty Rhodes was a preacher. Diamond Dallas Page is a preacher. But I heard this guy named Zig Ziglar, and he said, you can get whatever you want as long as you help enough people get what they want.
Yes.
And that was really my story in wrestling, man. I helped a lot of guys. And when it came time for, like, I thought I was ready in 95. I was Pro Wrestling Illustrated's Most Improved Wrestler of the Year. If you look at that list of guys over the last 45 years, that's
It's a
a
crazy
who's
list.
who, who got to the spot. So that was one of their real shoot awards that they had. Um, but I thought I was ready in 95, and I should have been given the opportunity, but I didn't. And 96, like the beginning all the way up through the middle towards the end, I thought I was ready, and I wasn't getting any opportunity. And then I had that match with Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc in 96. Eddie was supposed to go over, and when he jumped off the top rope and landed on me, my knee must have caught him in the rib or something, but he never sold it. And we keep going for a couple of more minutes. And eventually I go to pick Eddie up, and he says, Diamond Cutter. I go, no, Eddie. Diamond Cutter, Diamond Cutter. He's like, you'll see me step back and just take it and roll over 1, 2, 3. That was a huge win for Diamond Dallas Page, because I'd never beat anyone that Eddie, I knew would eventually be one of the tippity top cream of the crop. But at the time, he was the top of the middle. He might have been the
Yeah.
bottom of the top at that time. So for me to get a win over Eddie, I'm the bottom of the middle. Uh, it was huge, but still nothing. And then I went to Kevin Nash with the NWO idea. And Kev, when we were tag team partners, Kev was so like over it. He was over fuck wrestling, because he started making good money because he was freaking a beast and stupid handsome, and and he was Kevin Nash. But they put him through so many different gimmicks, they never let him be Kevin. And when we were tag teaming, his money had gone way down because Bill Watts came in and he changed all that pay scale. And Kev was ready to quit numerous times. And if you watch him in his Hall of Fame speech, when he goes in the first time, he thanks me for maybe helping him own that oceanfront home. Only because I would say just something so simple like, "Don't let them beat you down, big man. Don't let them beat you down, bro. You're gonna be one of the biggest names in the world. Do not let them. You're gonna do this. You're gonna." And then I tore my rotator cuff, got let go, and Kev got a call. It was really the Steiners that put that all together to pull Kev up to be Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. And then I created that thing for Scott Hall, and that became Razor Ramon, like without the diamond stud. So both of those guys were my brothers. Like if it was like shoot, like who's going to be number three, it would have been me because I was natural. But that's absurd because I mean nothing at that time. Being Hogan, oh my God, that is unbelievable. And again, just those two guys made it happen. I had the idea, laid it all out. They made it happen, and Kev insisted on it. 10 weeks in, it was supposed to be 3 weeks, and it kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And it was because the bookers did not believe that Diamond Dallas Page could carry that spot,
Huh.
that top talent spot. But Macho, after he saw me drop the NWO, I went with him. And never in a billion years would I have ever thought I was going over Macho, ever. That was Macho. So Randy freaking really liked me, but only because of all the shit that he had told me to do that I did that brought me us to there. And the
Yeah.
really funny thing about it, feud of the year, PWI's feud of the year, and number two spot, Austin and Bret Hart, which was so hot, which really shows you how hot that angle was,
Yes.
because I would have been my honor to be number two behind Stone Cold and Bret Hart. That was such magical shit they did. And uh, Mach, he's the one who called that and made that happen. And my life changed so dramatically, I couldn't even tell you, and I could even help more people. So it's been inside my soul forever. And it's so easy for me because, I've been fortunate on all other aspects of life. And like, I don't have to do any of this shit anymore. I could just fall up into the sunset, but that's not who I am. I'm still going to be doing what I do. Um, Working with Michael P.S. Hayes right now. And that is one of the greatest gifts ever because Michael helped me a lot, a lot. And is instrumental in the beginning of the manager, which eventually, of course, got taken away. And it was the best thing ever happened to me.
We kind of covered the inspirations. I was been in the soul. When did you realize that the six piece of real estate in between your
Mm.
eyes is the most important part?
Oh God. I don't think I really realized it until I was chasing that dream of becoming a, top guy. To me, I always my goal was to be like, to get to the bottom of the top. Like that was my goal
Okay.
because I didn't think it was possible to get past there. And to me, at any given time, Jake or Rick Rude, would have been like those guys that they were almost to the top, and then they get knocked down to the bottom of the top, almost to the top. Like if Jake walked out there or Rick Rude walked out there, you had no idea what was going to happen. Like they could go over tonight and not over everybody but Hogan.
Yeah.
They could go over. So that's what I was looking for. And that's when I heard the story. You probably heard the story before, but I was talking to Dusty, and Dusty let me vent on him. That was really, and I knew it was so valuable for me to be able to vent on shit to Dusty because of who he was. And at one point, I said, Dream, I know I'm never going to be you or Rick or Hulk. I know I'm never going to be the world champion, but the damn buddy went, that is enough. What did you just say? Well, now I feel really stupid. I'm like, well, come on, Dusty. I know I'm never going to be you or Rick. And before I can even get Hulk out of my mouth, he said, no, what did you say after that? Oh, Dream. I know I'm never going to be the world champion. And he, friggin', Dallas, as hard as you work, as much time as you put into the business, as much as you want this, he goes, if you don't believe it, you need to get the fuck out of our business right now. I felt like he reached through the phone and just bitch slapped me. And he kept yelling at me. And I can't tell you a thing I did after that, but what he said after that, but I don't remember because I was too focused on what I was about to do. And it was a pad next to the message machine on next to our phone. And I pulled it over and I wrote on it, I'll be the world champion in 5 years or less. And it became a part of my being. It became part of my soul. And it was 4 years, 4 months, and 14 days later, on April 11th, 6 days after my 43rd birthday, that I would actually step in the ring. And this is the crazy part. Talk about manifesting dreams into reality. The crazy part is I told Dusty I know I'll never be you, Rick, or Hulk. Yet that night, my first world championship would come with four of the biggest names of all time: Rick, Hulk, and the franchise, the Stinger. Randy was the guest referee, so there was a lot of, woo, what's going to happen? Ric Flair. To me, him and Shawn Michaels, flip a coin, who's the best, who
That's
had it all, who had it all. The look, the size, the rap, the talk, I mean, everything. Both of those guys. It's a coin toss. That he's going to take the cutter and put me over for my first world title. Dusty always told me, he said, you never forget that first world championship or this Hall of Fame ring. He said, that shit's real, brother. That shit's real. But when I wrote that down, the night it happened, it was a surreal moment for me. And I'd placed myself as a heel just because, and I shouldn't have done that when I look back at it, because it was a real moment for a lot of the fans who were on that ride with me, who thought of me the People's Champion. Um, that it was magical. The next day, Dusty called me, and I just got a cell phone, and I picked up the phone as I'm driving to Spokane with Kimberly from what was it called? I can never freaking pronounce it. Not Tamako. I think it was a T. The city I won that world title in.
I know what you're
I'm
talking
gonna
about.
block. I
I'm
got to
terrible with
block it,
names, man.
and I know what it is. I just can't remember it. How to say it, but Tacoma, Tacoma.
Yes.
Going to Spokane, and I pick up the phone, and he said, "So, D, how's it feel?" I said, "It feels real, Dream. It feels real." He goes, "That's because it is." And he hung the phone up on me. Uh, that's the kind of shit he do to me. But uh, over that period, it's what you put in between this 6-inch piece of real estate. No one, no one, my entire run, no one could make me believe. Once I had that conversation with him in 1994, no one could make me believe that I wasn't going to make it. I don't give a fuck what you say or who they are, you know, because bookers change, people change. If I didn't have this, all those when I won the what I call the Jabroni Bowl, uh, Slamboree. Um, when I won that 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 battle royal where it gets down to 8 guys, and Barb was kind enough to put me over in the middle of it, but the other guys took cutters too. Um, that's when I had dialed in, like, I'm going to do this, and I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to just keep working. I'm going to outwork them. And all I talked about was this, the diamond cutter. So now they can't beat me after winning that Battle Bowl thing. So they got to put me over the next 2 or 3 months. That was my fucking time. And the fans started to get with this. And I've been doing it for a while, but they started really getting with it. And that changed everything.
I'm really curious because, like, whenever we reached out, Change Your Dive, the big idea behind what maybe to promote, to talk about. And I could tell you just from a personal aspect, and even talking to my dad, who I also had watching as part of the team, it's kind of changed. It changes the way you think a lot. And
Right.
I want to say thank you for making that, putting it together. Obviously, the crew, thank all of you for putting that together. It's really made me think about changing some aspects of my life. What sparked the idea, even behind doing Change or Die?
My business partner, Steve, he is a genius. He's like, to a certain degree, he believes, like, he's even more focused on the hope than I am. Like, it comes down to, we're not a like a fitness company. People would put us in that box, but we're more like a company that gives people hope,
Yeah,
because from COVID on, I mean, damn. I mean, and before that, but COVID on, though, it really, that rocked a lot of people, and people just don't have, as a whole, don't have much belief in themselves to begin with. So we had created this company that gives people hope and has a whole, like, literal system to it. Like, what's happened since we finished filming Change or Die? We created TU, which is Transformation University. I just had 100 people in here, over 100, that are graduates. And there were more graduates who couldn't make it because they're all over the world. But I had people from Scotland, from Ireland, from the UK, from Australia, from Germany,
it's
Mexico,
crazy.
and they all came in, and they all know each other because they're in this program on Facebook, which we started up. I want to just do one, uh, where everybody comes in at one time. Um, but we'll have still 2 semesters. So you can get in at any time. It's kind of like, it's when I say that it's a semester, it's an educational, uh, how to stay accountable and how to to inspire yourself, and how to use this 6 inch piece of real estate in between your ears. And it's the list on steroids in another universe. And, like, people who you would never think would ever believe in themselves begin to. And if they just stay consistent, big things happen. And, like, we're in our third semester right now doing this. And I used to do a contest around it called Positively Unstoppable Challenge. It was supposed to be 3 people. I couldn't pick 3 people, so I picked 6. And then still supposed to be 3 people, and I picked 8, and then 11, and then 13. I'm like, I can't do it anymore because I can't pick enough people, because so many of these people put the work in. I feel like shit telling them that you were this close. So
Yeah.
that's where TU came out of. Like, I'm not doing that contest anymore. think of something different, Steve. And he came up with this. And like when you see the people here, like they know each other because they help each other. And tell me a spot on the internet, the web, AI, wherever, where all of the people who are involved in thousands of people, not it doesn't end up at thousands, but it starts at thousands, are trying to help each other. Tell me one place that happens.
It doesn't,
It
especially in today's
doesn't.
age. It just doesn't
It
happen.
doesn't. The people want to tear people down. You don't get to be in that group. You don't get to be in that group. So that whole group is an extension of myself and Steve and Nadia and Dylan and like it just keeps going. Like the people who work with me work with me, and they work countless hours coming into that because they're trying to give these people the best experience that they can.
Definitely.
And Change or Die was I didn't want to do a reality show. I mean, you could have called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake if it was in segments, and we had plenty of shit we had to leave out. You could have called Change or Die. I should say The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. You could have called it Change or Die because at that particular time, uh, there was a Deadpool. You might have been too young for that. Do you remember that? Seeing that? There was a Deadpool that the fans had come up with. You talk about negativity, but so many guys were dying in the 90s
Yeah.
that it was crazy. So they had a Deadpool, and it was the top 10 guys. Bagwell was on that list a couple times. He wasn't as high as Jake or Scott, which Jake or Scott could flip any time, one or
Yeah.
two. There's no way. Those guys, that's one of those two are going to be next to die. And they were close. Sure, they were close. But Scott got 10 years. He got 10 extra years to not just go in once, but go in twice in the Hall of Fame. And that never would have happened. Never would have happened until he was gone, because they weren't going to take the chance on that. And nor should they. You've got to be sober for a while if you are known for someone who's not making good decisions while you're intoxicated. So, but, you know, Scott Hall's, you know, really made me think about it. But when Hulk went, all I could think about, Jake Roberts has outlived Mach, Hyper, Hall, and Hulkster. And you tell me on any planet who would ever believe Jake would outlive
Nobody was
all those
betting that.
guys? Nobody. They were all putting him out. But again, and it was, Scotty would go back and drink on and off again. And COVID's what really killed him, not the disease bullshit. COVID, the actual solidarity of
Yeah.
being by himself in a dark room, that was a living room to a certain degree. But Jake didn't want to be that guy. And I don't think Marcus and Change or Die, because Change or Die is like, go coming into it when the people got there. We're talking about Butterbean, who is a monster name, at one point. Uh, Marcus Bagwell, and then three people no one knew before because they were just regular people. And it just happened to work out like that. Marcus had been asking for my help for years, but Marcus back then was a lot. Like you can see it. Like we just put Change or Die up on DDP Yoga Facebook. Not Facebook. Facebook, yeah. It's on Facebook, but also be on YouTube. And the next few episodes will be coming up there right after. There's a total of 9 episodes. But man, when you take where Marcus was when he got showed up at that house, he was in a bag when he rolled in.
Yeah.
And I had to let him and Butterbean go on the weekends because they needed to make money. And your life doesn't stop, just because you're in a house. See, when I brought Jake in, I paid for everything and wouldn't let him, he was making Jake Roberts, who now makes like $10,000 a signing, was making like 500, maybe 750, because you didn't know if Jake was going to show up. It
Yeah.
wasn't the market that it is today either. Um, because of COVID, memorabilia became very powerful. People loved, and it was memories. Um, and Jake is the favorite wrestler of millions of people. So, Jake, um, he didn't want to be that guy that he would become when he wasn't sober. And it was embarrassing to him. And Jake taught me what shame was when it came to addiction. Like I understand it now. My father was an addict. I've been around him my whole life. I've
Me
been
too.
lucky. I've been lucky enough to uh, to not have the addiction. Now, there are times when I was partying too much. I could have stepped over that line too many times, and maybe I think the booze. Some people instantly, you put one beer in them, two beers in them, they're fucking gone first time. Some people it takes a while. It takes years, and it wears them down. I can't believe how many people have become sober doing my program. Like me and Steve did 4 weeks of Fabulous Fridays, which is something our big Facebook page, which isn't mine, it's the people's Facebook page. It's DDP Yoga, one word. It started with 5 people, that are 78,000 of them. And they help each other. There are some people who slip in there and try to stir some shit, but they're immediately thrown out. Um, but Jake, he didn't want to be that person, and that's why you might see some of his autograph sessions. You'll also see Cheryl Roberts as well. So Jake and Cheryl. And Cheryl on herself had a hell of a run when they did the Rick Rude angle. So
Yep.
she's remembered from the 80s. And those two, man, I can't that to me is, you gotta believe. Because the odds in Vegas, if there were such a thing, of Jake getting sober, period, would have been, easily 1,000,000 to 1. But him and Cheryl getting back on, and he's sober, yeah, might be 1,000,000,000 to 1. I don't know. But I'm so happy for both of them, and proud to be a part of the journey, because that's all it was. Jake did all the work. I just guided him like he guided me when it came to wrestling, and you know, keep telling a story in the ring. The one thing I was going to say before, it's really funny because I was talking about Macho. You know, everyone would bust my balls because I wanted to talk about a match. And I want to talk about the beginning, the middle, and the ending. I just don't want to talk about the heat spot and the finish. I want to talk about the match because I really don't know what the fuck I'm doing out there in the beginning. So I wanted to know. And I took this spot from Mick Foley because he stopped doing it, but he invented it where he'd go to kick you, and then the guy would spin him around. And then when he spun him around, he'd clothesline the guy. And Mick couldn't do it physically anymore. So I'm like, I'm stealing that. If you don't know how to take that boot, and if you push it the wrong way, it's a clusterfuck. If you do it the way I tell you to do it, it's going to be amazing. And I might have thrown something in with spin it, duck the left, watch the right, which always gets a way bigger pop. And I wanted to. take you through what I vision. Because when we're out there, and that's where most of the guys, who started this shit in the, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, they talk to each other, like in the ring. If I laid out the entire match, I'm still going to talk to you the whole way through. You'll never see me do it, but I'm going to talk to you. And I'm going to make sure you remember so where we are. And everyone would bust my balls about it. Macho was more detailed than I was. No one said shit. So when God, you know, helped me and Macho come together for my first main event run, and we get the feud of the year out of it, it's because we were friggin' made for each other. Like we both thought the same way yet different. And I was just happy to be there.
Definitely. Dallas, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. This has been an absolute blast. I can't wait to do another one of these. If the cards are on the table, which I hope they are. It's been a phenomenal chat.